I would say that successful federations have probably three characteristics. One is that they have a sufficient amount of autonomy at the subnational government level so that the provinces can provide services to their citizens in the most efficient and ways that satisfy their needs. Secondly, there should be a system of equalizing transfers across provinces so that provinces are able to provide comparable levels of public services to their citizens. And thirdly, there should be some mechanism for cooperation between the central government and the provincial governments so that they're working together. Well, I think first of all, it's important to understand that some competition is good, that competition among provinces enhances the efficiency of government. Having said that, you don't want the competition to be predatory so that provinces are doing things to the disadvantage of other provinces. And I think the best way to preclude that is to have some institution, some mechanism for harmonizing fiscal systems, for example, harmonizing the tax system, so that there are constraints on the ability of the provinces to use taxes and subsidies to attract business from neighboring jurisdictions. That's a question that is facing many countries now, that inequality of both income and wealth has increased dramatically over the last couple of decades. And it's a problem both at the top and at the bottom. I mean, in some sense, the middle has been hollowed out a bit. And so there are a lot of people at the bottom who are having trouble making ends meet. And then there are a lot of people at the very top, in the top 5 or 10%, that have large amounts of wealth that have been generated by globalization and information technology. So I would say that policy should address both ends of the spectrum. And at the bottom end of the spectrum, I think it's important that tax systems provide adequate transfers to low-income people so that they are able to live a comfortable life without at the same time giving them a disincentive to participate in the labor force. So various forms of basic income guarantee would be a way of doing that. At the top end, it's a little more difficult, but I think at the top end, there are two things that one can do. A lot of the inequality of wealth gets passed on from one generation to the next. And the obvious way of addressing that is to have an effective inheritance tax system that taxes large inheritances. And the other observation is that a lot of the income inequality at the top end comes about because of high earnings, high capital gains of various sorts, and also high entrepreneurial incomes. And so I think that the best policy is to reform the income tax system so that capital gains are taxed more heavily than they are under current systems. This is a problem that's faced by every country, in every OECD country, I should say, the fact that you have an aging population. And the problem is more difficult in countries that rely on public pensions for elderly people. Countries that have strong private pension systems, contributory pension systems that encourage their citizens, incentivize their citizens, if you like, to save for their own retirement, are ones that are going to have more success in dealing with the aging population. So I would say that the tax system should encourage people to save for retirement. That would be the one of the most important things that could be done. But there's no getting around the fact that with an aging population, the demands for public services are going to be rising because elderly people use a lot more health services. And so somehow that has to be financed. And the question is, how do you finance that in a way that doesn't put a burden so much on the younger generation? So I think what governments have to do is they have to really be aware of the intergenerational consequences of the aging population and make sure that burdens are spread over generations, and it's not the younger generation that's being forced to to address the problems of aging.